The ciabatta's ready. Look at these. To make ciabatta bread, you just need 5 ingredients, and they are 500 grams of bread flour. In Portugal, that's T65 without any yeast in there. A teaspoon of sugar, a teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of dry yeast, and 380 ml of tepid water. So let's get into it. We need to bloom the yeast first. You need tepid water to help bloom the yeast because yeast is actually a living organism. We just pop the yeast in there and we need to feed it, give it some food, and that's going to be the teaspoon of sugar. So just pop that in there, give it a mix and wait, depending on the room temperature, at least 20 minutes. If it's really hot, it's going to start to bubble before then. So we're just looking for active yeast, which is a bubbling yeast. Just give it a mix, and it's really important to not use too hot water because you'll kill the yeast. And if the water's not warm enough, the yeast just won't activate, or it will take all day to activate. Whilst the yeast is activating, we're going to prep some bowls to put the ciabatta in. It's going to make 3 ciabattas. And ciabatta means slipper in Italian because they are a slipper-shaped loaf of bread. I've got 3 tins exactly the same. You can use cereal bowls, whatever. They don't necessarily have to be exactly the same size, but it does help if you want even amounts of bread. In these, I'm just going to use some extra virgin olive oil. I'm just going to spray the bowls, and that acts as a release agent, and it stops the dough from sticking to the bowl as it rises. Just using a brush round the whole of the bowls and repeat with the other 2. The yeast is ready. You can see there's a nice foam on top, so it's activated. Perfect. 500 grams of the flour, and I'm using sea salt. Just mix in the salt into the flour. If you've not made bread before, this truly is the most easy recipe for ciabatta. I've seen so many recipes and they have so many faffy things that you need to do. This is the perfect beginner's bread recipe. You will get some beautiful ciabatta at the end of it. Tip all of the yeast, tip it all into the flour and give it a mix. This is a high hydration recipe, which means that there's a high amount of liquid to the flour, and that's what helps to give it the bubbles which you need in the ciabatta bread as it cooks. Give it a really good mix, making sure that there's no dry flour left. And the great thing about this recipe, there's no kneading. This is my dough scraper. They are very cheap to buy, and I would say absolute must in the kitchen if you make pastry or dough. They're so handy. Just going to just squirt that with a little bit of olive oil and then work around the bowl, scraping off the spatula. These scrapers really do make life a lot easier for bread making. And if you have one that's got a rounded edge, you can just get into the sides of the bowl and scrape the dough and move it around. Perfect. Let's get this into the bowls. Roughly, you need to divide this by 3. If you really want to be totally accurate, you can put the bowl on a scale and weigh out the dough. I'm just going to do this by eye, and that should be good enough. We're going to bake all 3 of these loaves together, so as long as they're roughly about the right size, they'll need the same baking time, and that makes it easier once it's in the oven. I have divided the dough, and we need to let this rise. Cover it with cling film, and again put some oil on the top of the cling film, and that will stop. If the dough rises up and hits the cling film, it will stick, but if you oil the cling film, then the cling film really won't stick to the dough. That's about the right size to go over the top. Just a quick little squirt, and I dropped my red pastry brush on the floor. Fortunately, I have two. Oiled side down onto the bowl, and place this somewhere warm. If you have an airing cupboard and it's winter, that's an ideal place. Sometimes I've just wrapped a bowl up in a towel just to give it a little bit of insulation and put it in the warmest part of the house when it's been in the middle of winter. Repeat on these two and leave, depending on the ambient temperature, it could be an hour, it could be 3 hours. But it's summer at the moment, so these should rise quite quickly. And the dough has risen, it's taken about 2 hours. You can see it's all beautiful and bubbly. That's exactly what we want. Now here's the way to keep all those bubbles in the dough, and it's really simple. With bread, you normally get your hands completely gooey and doughy, and this is a really clean way of baking ciabatta. So let's shape the dough. Whilst we're shaping and prepping the dough, pop your oven on and put it on the highest setting that your oven can possibly go on. And for me, that's 250 centigrade. Don't worry, we're going to turn it down just before we put the bread in. I've got some greaseproof paper, and I've got 3 ciabattas that I want to make. So I'm just going to fold this in a way that the ciabattas sit in their individual trays and don't blend into each other, otherwise they'll stick together and you end up with one whole loaf. Fold the paper into thirds. You don't have to be super precise about it. And then smooth down the lines. And that gives you 3 sections. It'll make sense shortly when I start to put the ciabattas on. The ciabatta needs to lie on just a coating of flour. Easiest to sprinkle it with a sieve. I find putting the middle one in first works quite well. Sprinkle the flour and use the flour that we've used for making the ciabatta, so it's standard bread flour. I've got a silicone mat. This is brilliant for shaping the ciabatta. Taking some flour, let's put a good sprinkling of flour on here, and this is what we're going to use to roll the ciabatta into the slipper shape. Using a dough scraper, I'm just going to lightly oil it, gently scrape down onto the mat. Here we go. Let's pick up the ciabatta and gently roll it left and right. And you can see it's already forming that traditional shape. Perfect. If you don't have one of these, just use a sheet of baking paper and dust it exactly the same. It will work perfectly. I'm going to pick it up and then just tip it, roll it, and then don't touch it. Perfect. Reflour the mat. And with this, if you're not quite happy where the ciabatta's ended up, just pick up the pleat and just adjust it. And just move the breads so they're kind of got a little bit of space. The ciabatta is ready to go into the oven. The oven's currently preheating at 250 degrees centigrade, and when they go in, I'll turn that down to 230 degrees centigrade for 8 minutes and then turn it down a further time to 200 degrees, and then that's for 15 minutes and they should be ready at that point. Before I put the ciabatta in, I've boiled a kettle of water and I've got a tray in the bottom of the oven heating up. I'm going to pour the boiling water in there, and that will just make a nice steamy atmosphere for the bread, and that really helps the crust develop and that lovely soft delicate texture. The ciabatta's ready and it smells wonderful and it's looking beautifully crusty and just how I want it. Let's get them on the cooling rack because you don't want soggy bottoms. So as soon as they come out of the oven, onto a cooling rack, and I'll come back in a minute for a taste test. Which one should I go for? Crust sounds lovely. Let's cut into the ciabatta. Nice, crispy. So let's get into a really nice slice. And butter. Let's have some butter with it. There we go. Everything is better with butter. I think some of you might get the references on that one. It's a really delicious, crispy crust on there. And the flavour is really nice. Just the right balance of salt. And I use sea salt. I forgot to say that earlier. And I think sea salt really elevates a bread dish because you get those little crunchy crystals throughout the bread. Absolutely delicious. Let me know if you're going to make this bread. Give it a go. It's so easy. You'll get a loaf of bread which you'll really enjoy, and it goes well with soup or dips or balsamic vinegar and olive oil, or just plain like this with some butter. Like, share and subscribe. Take care, and I'll be seeing you. Okay, so you can't have ciabatta? You really can't. Oh, you're so cute.